Producing online newspaper is not easy to copy and paste from print edition. So how did you in Gannet Group prepare your online editions to attract readers and for better user experience?
Well, what we're doing now with our local sites is we're creating an experience that's very clean for our users, that makes it very easy for them to navigate our sites, and makes it very easy for them to find related content and more dynamic content. So a couple of things that we're doing is we're surfacing more of related stories in connection with each article that a person might be reading. We're surfacing more popular stories. We're also surfacing popular videos and slideshows as well, because we want to become more of a multimedia site, not simply limited to one form of media as well. So the goal is to really create a strong, engaging experience for our users, and also to take users who may be coming in through other channels such as search or through social media referrals, and help take what might have been a 1 or 2 page view experience for a user and get them to engage more deeply on our sites.
Does these changes means much more work for editors?
Well, I think that part of the advantage that we have in technology is we're able to put systems in place that can help make life easier for editors as well. So I think there's a great desire on the part of our editors to help to reach their consumers in multiple different ways. So the best editors will think about the story that they want to tell to a user, and they'll think less about the individual medium to tell that story, but they'll think more about how they can tell that story in multiple different ways and take advantage of both print, online, as well as mobile, and they'll take that story and they'll tell it different ways throughout. So I think it actually makes things more powerful for the editors, and also, as I mentioned, through systems we can make things somewhat easier for our editors. We have a contextualization tool in place now which will help categorize our stories into different areas, and as an example, we can use technology to do that and not require our editors to think in multiple ways about how they might categorize an individual story.
What are the effects of this launch in terms of number of users?
Well, we've just started to redesign our sites now. We haven't actually rolled it out beyond a couple of markets, but the good news is that the early results have been very good. A lot of times when you go to redesign a site, especially if you do a substantial redesign to your site, you'll actually start by having a loss to your traffic before you can regain. In this case, with the pilots that we've launched so far, we've actually found engagement to be greater and our traffic to be greater as a result. And I think a part of that is because this design is about making the sites easier to use, and again, by referring users to more and more related stories and more popular stories, we're creating increased engagement among our users.
Part of your strategy is filling the niches, online niches. You launched successfully Moms Like Me website. Could you tell how did you found the relevant content for this website, and did you force your journalists to cover stories relevant to moms?
Well, that's a very good question, and one of the really interesting things about it is it's actually more than just covering relevant stories, but it's a very different way of interacting with our users. So Moms Like Me is a social networking site, and the moms are really there to speak to each other. And I think that was the biggest adjustment for us as a company. Where we started when we first launched it is we had some sites that would think in exactly the way that you described. It would be thinking about stories that were relevant to the mom's audience and posting those stories on the site. One example was we had an issue with lead paint being found in toys, and so a number of toy companies were doing recalls. And a number of our editors thought, well, that would be a story that would be relevant to the moms, and they would post that story on the mom site in addition to posting it on our news sites. What we found, though, was that the moms would not interact with that story on Moms Like Me. The reason is they already knew about the toy recalls. They knew that lead was being found in toys, and when they came to Moms Like Me, they were there to talk to each other about it and ask the other moms questions about, are you throwing away all the toys you already have and buying new ones, or are you keeping your old toys? They wanted to talk to each other about what to do. They weren't there to read the story. And so that was the big adjustment for us, to understand that the site was really about moms interacting with each other, and it was a new way to deal with media and a new way to help our customers engage. So it wasn't about us giving them the content and giving relevant content. It was more about finding ways to spark the conversation. So we then learned that we should be asking these questions to the moms to say, instead of posting a story about the toy recalls, to say, you know about the toy recalls, what are you doing? And so we've become much more interactive with our users in that respect.
Which part of content of these websites are taken or uploaded by users? I mean, user-generated content.
Well, on Moms Like Me, it's almost entirely user-generated content. I mean, that is a purely social site, and most of it is comments and questions from the moms posed to other moms. On our news sites, we have commenting capability and have had for a few years, and we find there's a lot of traffic to it, but the core of our sites is still really about the professional content that our journalists post, be it in text or slideshow or video format.
Monetizing the community websites, it's really tough topic. What is your way to do this?
We've done it in a couple different ways. Part of it is looking at the attractiveness of the audience segment and targeting media to that segment. We've also integrated advertisers into the Moms Like Me experience. So we've taken communities and given marketers the opportunity to participate in those communities. So as an example, we had a group that was related to baby care that a diaper brand came in and participated in. We had a group called Living Beautifully for Less that was about helping moms look better on a budget, and that was sponsored by Suave, Unilever's discount hair care brand. The important thing about it is that you need to be transparent with the moms about the fact that these groups are sponsored. They want to know that this is paid advertising, which it is. And you also have to be careful about how the advertisers interact with the community as well. So what the moms want is the opportunity to hear from a brand, to hear from an expert in the space, but what they don't want to hear is just constant messages about the brand. They're interested in the topic and they look at the brand as an expert. And there's value associated with the brand being present there, so there's a positive benefit to the brand, but you have to manage the conversations the right way and you have to be open with the moms about who they're speaking with.